Sorry, rookie error. Good evening, Commissioners, staff and members of the public. I declare the Ordinary Council meeting of 24 September 25 open at 5:30 p.m. I wish to acknowledge the Kariyarra people as the traditional custodians of the land we're meeting on. I recognise their strength and resilience and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. This meeting is being live streamed and audio recorded to facilitate community participation and for minute-taking purposes, which may be released upon request to third parties. In accordance with Clause 6.16 of the Town of Port Hedland Standing Orders Local Law 2014, members of the public are not permitted to use any visual or audio electronic device or instrument to record the proceedings of any meeting unless that person has been given permission by the presiding member to do so. Members of the public are also reminded that in accordance with Clause 6.174 of the Standing Orders, mobile telephones must be switched off and not used during the meeting. I note that all Commissioners are present and their attendance will be listed under item 3.1 of the minutes. We have no attendance by telephone or instantaneous communications. CEO, we don't have any apologies?
No apologies, Chair.
Does anyone wish to declare an interest for any of the items in the agenda this evening?
Chair, I do. I declare an interest in item 12.5.2, which is the council plan. I have an interest in the company that assisted the council in the preparation of the plan.
Thank you, that's been noted. Applications for leave of absence. Do we have any applications for leave of absence?
No, we don't, Chair.
Commissioners, I move an amendment to the order of business that Council amend the 24 September 2025 Ordinary Council Meeting Order of Business as set out in Council Policy 1/017 to deal with item 8, announcements by the presiding member without discussion, before item 5, response to previous questions. Could I have a mover, please?
Second, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Jurovic. And a seconder?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of Council. At the very outset, I want to note that we've slightly reordered business this evening to allow us to introduce ourselves, to outline the work we intend to do with the town of Port Hedland and the people of Port Hedland, and to explain how we will structure tonight's meeting. My name is Jessica Shaw, and along with Commissioners Martin Aldridge and Ron Jurovic, we've been appointed by the Governor of Western Australia on the recommendation of the Minister for Local Government to administer the town of Port Hedland. These appointments were made under the Local Government Act 1995 after the elected council became unable to form a quorum and could no longer meet. In accordance with the Act, the three of us together now hold the powers and functions of the council. In effect, we are the council until new elections are held on the 28th of March 2026. At that point, responsibility will rightly return to those chosen by the community through the ballot box. Our role between now and then is not to replace elected representatives, nor to take the town in a new direction of our own design. We're here to steady the ship, maintain sound governance, and prepare the ground for the next council. While we may, at times, need to understand the background to issues in order to deal with matters before us, our task is not to dwell on the past. Our focus is providing stability now and preparing the ground for the next elected council. And we will do this with a strong focus on the core business of local government, delivering the services and infrastructure the town needs, ensuring effective governance, and supporting the future council to make well-informed decisions. I want to acknowledge the service of the former councillors of the town of Port Hedland. Several are present this evening. Stepping forward for elected office is a significant act of public service, and it's right that we acknowledge that contribution. As we turn to the work before us tonight, the agenda has a deliberately narrow focus. We will be considering two substantive items: the 25-26 annual budget and associated items, and the Council Plan 25 to 35, the town's statutory plan for the future, which incorporates both the Strategic Community Plan and the Corporate Business Plan. These are the foundation stones of the town's operations and must be in place for business to continue. We recognise that many of the projects included in the budget have already been the subject of community engagement, and we will consider them in light of that input. Our aim is to adopt a budget and a council plan that keep essential projects moving without delay, while at the same time acknowledging that some decisions carry far-reaching implications. Where choices would bind the town for years to come, we believe it is right to keep preparatory work underway, but leave the final decisions for the newly elected council to make on a fully informed basis. The council plan we intend to adopt is an interim plan. It is deliberately designed to ensure that the new council has a wide scope to set its own priorities. We are leaving the door open, and between now and March, we will work to gather information and engage with the community to help inform the options to be considered by the newly elected council. These options will be considered as part of the major strategic review of the council plan. That review will be completed by the new council, taking into account a range of inputs, including a stocktake of progress, the results of the community survey, which closes this week, and the community engagement we will undertake in February of next year. The council plan, adopted by the new council, will set the compass for the coming years. We have a key role in leaving a solid platform for those significant decisions. We are also this evening appointing commissioners to represent the town on a range of external committees and forums. This is an important part of local government, ensuring Port Hedland has a voice in regional and state level discussions. In so doing, we also want to refresh relationships with other levels of government so that when advocacy is needed, whether to local, state or federal governments, it reflects the needs and priorities of the Port Hedland community and doors are open to its representatives. Because tonight's agenda is necessarily lean, we will shortly convene a special council meeting to address the balance of pressing matters before the council. After that, it's our intention to return to the ordinary schedule of meeting and the regular cadence of council business. During our tenure, we intend to consider council's internal processes, including meeting procedures, re-establishing the Audit, Risk and Compliance Committee, a range of expired or lapsed policies and strategies, and the governance of major capital works projects to ensure that the council functions effectively and that appropriate checks, balances and oversight are in place. This will be especially important for projects with major financial or community impacts. We also have a critical responsibility to progress the recruitment of a new Chief Executive Officer. The CEO plays a central role in the leadership and delivery of services across the town, and it's important that this process is undertaken carefully and transparently. Our goal is to ensure that whether the appointment is finalised during our term or by the incoming council, there is clarity and stability in the town's executive leadership. A great deal of important catching up work lies ahead. We intend to plan it carefully so that it does not interrupt the delivery of essential projects or the day-to-day operations of the town. Our aim is to ensure that the next council inherits an organisation with an up-to-date policy framework, robust processes and strategic direction, and uninterrupted service delivery. Our guiding principle is simple: to provide the broadest possible scope for the new council to set its own direction without leaving the town exposed or allowing essential matters to drift in the meantime. I want to acknowledge the excellent staff of the town of Port Hedland. In the short time we've been here, we have been impressed by their professionalism and commitment, and I'd particularly like to recognise that several staff have recently received awards. The 2025 Local Government Professionals WA Community Development Innovative Partnership Regional Award was awarded to the Community and Youth Services team for their Hedland Nightlights program in September of 2025. The LGIS Gold Award was awarded for Human Resources and WHS in August 2025, and Sienna Bennett and Sophie Marlowe, who's with us this evening, were finalists in the State Trainee of the Year's Awards, and that reflects the incredible capabilities that we have on the Town of Port Hedland's administrative team here. And so congratulations on behalf of the Commissioners and I'm sure on behalf of the community for your outstanding work. We've been here in Port Hedland every week since our appointment, and we will continue to make ourselves available as much as possible. I wish to thank the many community members who've already welcomed us so warmly and who have shared their perspectives with us. We encourage all residents to stay involved, to share your views, and to participate fully in the life of your local government. Over the next 6 months, we look forward to working with you all as we lay the groundwork for the town's next chapter. Before I close, I note that the meeting engagements also of the former mayor are listed in the agenda papers for transparency. Thank you. Moving on to item 5, responses to questions taken on notice at the Ordinary Council meeting held 30th July 25 have been provided to individuals and are detailed in the agenda. Item 6, public time. Just take some water. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions of Council with regard to tonight's agenda and the business of local government. Clause 6.73 of the Town of Port Hedland Standing Orders Local Law requires members of the public wishing to ask a question to complete a question form and place the completed form in the tray provided. If myself, as a presiding member, determines that a question or statement is out of order due to the use of offensive or objectionable expressions or are defamatory, they will not be considered, recorded or responded to. Public questions are allocated a minimum of 15 minutes under the Act. The presiding member may extend question time for up to 1 hour under Standing Order 6.710. We will allow a total of 1 hour and 15 minutes for both questions and statements this evening. Public questions and statements received in writing will be provided the opportunity to present first, followed by other members of the public. So I declare public question time opened at 5:42 p.m. CEO, have we received any questions prior to the meeting?
Chair, none have been handed to me, but can I know? No, we haven't.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to ask any questions? Thank you. Please come forward, state your name and suburb, and please remember to fill in a public question time form if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, good evening. I'm John Ashenden from South Hedland. First question to the Chair, statutory basis of appointment. For the record, could you please state the statutory basis on which you were appointed, which section of the Local Government Act was relied upon, and what circumstances triggered that appointment?
So I outlined the basis of our appointment in my opening statement. Questions specific to the process of our appointment are appropriately directed to the Minister for Local Government. So we have been appointed. We now stand in the footsteps, or we sit in the role of the council, and we'll be functioning that. But we are unfortunately not in a position to speak to the ministers.
So you can't give me the Act, the Local Government Act that gave you that Act that you relied upon?
As I say, we did. So that, I believe, is your second question.
Okay.
As I say, I outlined the basis of our statutory appointment in my opening statement, but we have your details. If you'd like a more comprehensive response, then we can provide that to you on notice.
Okay, thank you. Second question. The Minister has repeatedly used the word dysfunction to justify this intervention. For the record, can you explain how the Minister defined dysfunction, whether that term has any statutory or policy meaning, and what evidence was provided to support it? And further, please detail any discussions you had with the Minister or her office on this issue prior to your appointment.
The Minister has made a determination and the council was not quorate, so we were appointed on the basis that the council was unable to form a quorum. In terms of the Minister's reasons, that's for the Minister to answer. That's not our role. Yeah. Our role is to sit as the council.
You're good at not answering the question. I got it.
If I may finish.
I got it.
So our role is to sit as the council. We all three received a phone call roughly between 4 and 7 days before our actual appointment, asking us if we would be willing to serve as commissioners, and indeed we were very willing to.
So we've got a quorum of 2 now, and we could have had a quorum of 4 of elected members. We've got 2 now that weren't elected.
Is that your third question?
No. Third question is democracy means the people choose their representatives, and those representatives remain until the people, not the state, decide otherwise. An election was already scheduled and only weeks away. On what basis did you decide it was appropriate to accept appointment to replace elected councillors rather than allow the people of Port Hedland to exercise their democratic right?
We were appointed in accordance with the Local Government Act, and the Minister's decisions to take action under that Act are her own. Thank you, sir. Do we have any other questions?
Roger Higgins, 119 Edgar Street. Chair, the Minister had the discretion to accept a reduced quorum and let the Council continue to function. In the WA Parliament, my understanding is that you yourself warned of the dangers of the executive dominance. How do you reconcile those words with accepting a role on this committee now?
I've spoken to the process and the legal basis upon which the Minister made her determination. That is, the process that she utilised to appoint us is her matter. We are, as I say, the appointed commissioners, and that again is a legal process. And as to the Minister's reasoning behind that, that is her own. As to my comments I made in the Parliament, that is obviously with respect to the state Parliament and the processes of the Westminster system of Parliament, and has no bearing on the roles that we perform here as commissioners, which I would add are on the basis of a piece of legislation passed by an elected Parliament.
My second question. The Mayor's resignation came just weeks before a scheduled election, and conveniently the vacancy that was created as a result of the resignation of our then Mayor. For the record, what discussions took place at the ministerial level between the Mayor of this place at that time and the acting CEO, which led up to this resignation?
We have no knowledge or visibility of that, I'm afraid, sir.
Okay. My third question. We had an election that was already scheduled. The situation was...
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Could you just slow down a little? I'm a little hard of hearing, sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
I think we're both having trouble hearing one another, sir, is what I'm saying.
Right, so my third question. The election had already been scheduled. If the situation was truly as urgent as the Minister claims and the dysfunction was the biggest issue, why wait until the Mayor's resignation before acting? And that's really my third question.
Okay, I think I caught your question. As I say, the Minister's decisions are for the Minister to answer questions. I've outlined the legal basis upon which we were appointed as commissioners, and we're not in a position to discuss the Minister's decisions in appointing us. We're here as commissioners, legally appointed to stand in the shoes of the council until the 28th of March, and that's what we fully intend to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any further questions?
Hello, Teresa Ashenden, South Hedland.
Could you just bend the microphone towards you a little? Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes, much. Thank you.
Right, I think you answered this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Commissioners, the question of timing goes to the heart of this matter. When did the Minister or her office first raise with you your potential appointment as Commissioner? Was it before or after the Mayor's resignation? Please set out clearly when you first were contacted, by whom and what was discussed.
Well, I can certainly answer on my own behalf, and we'll take it on notice on behalf for the other commissioners. The Minister asked me, I believe, 2 days after the Mayor had resigned.
Thank you. And my second question is, Commissioners, to remove all doubt, will you commit to placing on the public record the full record of communications relating to your appointment, including correspondence, email, text messages and diary notes, so the exact timing and nature of your appointment can be made clear to the community?
As we've just said, and we'll take that on notice in terms of the timings on which we were notified. As to the other matters, we'll have to take legal advice on the appropriateness of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
Good evening and welcome to Port Hedland. My name is Merrin Browning and I'm at South Hedland. So, the former mayor's conduct was well known. The incident in Vietnam that forced his resignation from a school board, repeated absences, unapproved travel and a formal vote of no confidence citing lack of transparency. These matters were tolerated for years by the state, yet councillors who had not resigned were dismissed only weeks before an election. So as the governing body now in place, will you commit to reviewing those incidences formally, reporting your findings publicly and making clear whether such conduct would be acceptable under your watch?
As I've outlined in my opening statement, we are looking forward and we are here to steady the ship, review the existing processes, procedures, strategies, and we'll be setting, we hope, the council up for success going forward. The conduct of the previous mayor, it's not appropriate for us as councillors to conduct a full-scale investigation. That is not a function typically of council. So we will be, as I say, focusing on steadying the ship, reviewing procedures, strategies, getting the budget, the council plan in place, instituting the major strategic review, and leaving the fundamental decisions of council to the newly elected council.
Interesting. We need answers, that's all I'm saying. You know, we've had none in the whole time and we've been asking and asking and asking. So as our now, well, unelected, sorry if that's disrespectful, but it is actually very true, you're not being elected by any of us here. We would really like that to be investigated. So anyway, next question. The Minister has publicly said that there are too many extremists in local government. That kind of language suggests only those who agree with the Minister should be elected. Some in this community would say that the ALP itself has extremists in its ranks. Others would argue that using the power of the state to remove an elected council only weeks before an election is itself the act of an extremist. To disenfranchise a community of its vote is completely unacceptable. Do you acknowledge that such statements and such actions risk undermining trust in democracy? And will you commit to publishing in full your letters of appointment and instructions from the Minister so the people of Port Hedland can see whether her views on extremism influences how you govern here? And let me just add before you answer that, thank God she's not the Attorney General, because if this is how she's going to treat who don't agree with her who don't agree with her, I dread to think what would happen if that was her portfolio, or the changes she would make to the criminal code in this instance. So if you need me to repeat that question, I'm happy to repeat it again.
No, I get the gist.
Yep.
Okay.
Your response?
So as I have outlined, the Minister's reasons for taking a decision are her own. The Minister's statements that she's made with respect to local government are her own to defend as Minister for Local Government. So we cannot speak to the Minister's, what the Minister's views were.
Yeah.
In terms of letters of appointment, the instrument by which we were appointed, I believe, is enclosed as part of the agenda papers for this evening. And in terms of instructions that we've received from the Minister's given us no instructions. Our roles are outlined in the Local Government Act, an act that was passed and the reforms to which were passed by a democratically elected state government. So I guess I would say letters of appointment are there. Our instructions are as per the Local Government Act to act in the place of the council and passed by a duly elected state government.
Yeah. So just comments around that. The operative word there is local, not state. So therefore, we can debate on that if you want later. So question 3, Commissioners, the community does not know what you are being paid. That includes fees, allowances, travel, reimbursements and other entitlements. But beyond your own pay, what other costs are being transferred from the state onto the town to support this Clayton's Council? Staff, travel, advisors, legal or administrative expenses? Please explain in full what is the arrangement this arrangement is costing the Port Hedland ratepayers, and how you justify asking this community to pay for an unelected, undemocratic, and probably not local body imposed upon them.
In the agenda papers, the costs and the remuneration we receive as commissioners has been published, and I believe there's also been within the papers as well an explanation of the travel costs or an estimation of the travel costs. The reporting or the financial reporting for the period going forward will be conducted in accordance with the normal business of local government.
Yeah. So again, local being the operative word. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Chris Skelton, known as Skelts in the community, 3 Hawkins Street, South Hedland. Commissioners, none of you are elected, and unlike the community members before you, none of you reside in Port Hedland. Your positions exist solely at the Minister's discretion. If the Minister's discretion were to ever conflict with the needs or wishes of this community, whose side would you take? What formal instructions, informal guidance or conversations have you received from the Minister? And will you commit here and now that the interest of the Port Hedland community will always take precedence over the preferences of the Minister?
Thank you for the question. As I've pointed out, we were appointed under a legislation or a legislative instrument that was passed by a democratically elected government or parliament. Yes, that's correct. None of us do reside in Port Hedland, and that is on the public record. Our duties as councillors are very clearly outlined in the Local Government Act. So we are under a duty to act in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act. There is no requirement in the Local Government Act for us to act under the instructions of the Minister. We had a very short meeting with the Minister prior to our appointment. We had a very high-level briefing with the local government, with the Department of Local Government to outline the nature of our obligations as councillors. And then it was very clearly communicated to us that we were then to operate at arm's length from state government and to pursue the duties of a commissioner under the requirements of the Local Government Act.
Okay. And just a next question. Commissioners, the council was dissolved under quorum provisions, even though an election was just weeks away. If this action can be taken here, it sets a precedence that it could potentially apply to any council in Western Australia. Chair, in Western Australia Parliament, you previously warned of the dangers of executive dominance. Given the context, can you explain how this intervention does not constitute the very executive dominance you cautioned against? Additionally, what assurances can you provide to other councils across the state that they will not fall similar treatment?
Thank you for the question. As I've outlined, the Minister's decision to appoint commissioners was hers to make. We're not in a position to speak to her rationale, nor are we in any position to make any comments on what sorts of precedents that may set or otherwise. The Minister acted in full compliance with the Local Government Act, as we intend to, as commissioners, also act in compliance with the Local Government Act. As to assurances to other councils, that is not a matter that has any relevance to the role we will perform as commissioners for the town of Port Hedland.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Hello. Commissioners, as you prepare to adopt the 2025-2026 budget, a document that will significantly shape the future of this community, can you outline the steps you will take to ensure that the budget reflects the true priorities of the people of Port Hedland, rather than simply aligning with the Minister's agenda, Additionally, will you commit to publishing a detailed line-by-line breakdown of how community input has been considered so that residents can see how their voices have influenced the final decisions?
As I hope I outlined in our opening statement, the budget that we intend to consider, and I won't say that we will consider it and we'll pass it or we'll consider it at a later point in the agenda, but the budget that we have crafted and the council plan, we've been at pains to ensure progresses work but doesn't take any significant decisions that will put the town of Port Hedland on a major course or have significant budgetary imposts. We acknowledge that it's incredibly important that the duly elected council from the 29th of March takes those major strategic decisions on behalf of the electors of the town of Port Hedland. That is an incredibly important principle that we've been at pains to communicate to the administration as the budget papers have been prepared for this evening. And certainly we would love to see beyond the 29th of March, the new council then function in a way and pass budgets and, following a major strategic review of the council plan, act in a way that really does reflect the priorities of the people of the town of Port Hedland. We have no visibility as to whether that budget aligns or not with the Minister for Local Government's own views on what the town of Port Hedland should do around its budgetary decisions or its council planning. They are very clearly decisions for the council to make, and she has expressed no view to us at all on those matters. In terms of a line-by-line accounting for that, I might ask the CEO to comment on how the budget will be reported upon.
Just so I'm clear on the question, how the budget will be reported on during the year, progress? No. All right, I'm going to hand that to the Director of Corporate Services through Chair.
Thank you. Through the Chair, the question as I took it was how its formation had been in consultation with the community, correct?
Yeah, basically, so we know the actual people of Port Hedland are being represented in what will be happening with the town, seeing as you guys aren't from here.
Sure. Thank you. Through the process of formulating the budget, I guess firstly there's a number of workshops that we have with the elected members who work on behalf of the community. We also take out a couple of documents, key documents, for public consultation. The first one was around fees and charges, and twice we went out with our intention for rating. And we also followed up with 2 workshops for the community. The first one was attended when it come to the rating, but not so much the second one. So we have made every effort to seek commentary from the community with important steps.
Sorry,
as well as one other part, we have to write to ratepayers in a category of less than 30 as well, to make sure that they are well aware of what our intention is for the proposed 25-26 rating.
Where was this workshop, sorry?
So we tried to have one here.
Sorry, ma'am, is that a further question?
Yeah.
Members of the public can ask 3 questions, so we're very happy to take that as a further question to your initial.
Clarification on
No, like I say, 3 questions is permitted under the standing orders.
So would that count as a question?
As your second question, yes, thank you, ma'am.
All right, no, thank you. Would you like my second question now then?
Sorry, I was under the impression that that was it.
No.
Okay.
I was conversing in relation to what he was saying to get clarity, because I never heard about this workshop and I'm a member of the community, and I'd like to know how many people here attended the workshop and were able to know about this as well.
Okay, so under the standing orders, under the standing orders, typically the process is that people are given the opportunity to ask 3 questions, and it's not a debate session or a to and fro during the course of those questions being asked. We now have just over 20 minutes, just under, 20 minutes left for public question time. There's a lot of people that have got a lot of questions to ask. So just ask that everybody work through the process and comply with the standing orders, and then we'll all have a very constructive council meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I apologise. Can you confirm what specific statutory power, section or regulation was relied upon to extend the CEO's contract when the decision was made, and what checks were performed by the town's legal or governance staff before the former mayor signed the contract?
The CEO.
I'd have to ask for the question again. Please, I did not catch it.
Pardon?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sure. Can you confirm what specific statutory power, section or regulation was relied upon to extend the CEO's contract when the decision was made, and what checks were performed by the town's legal or governance staff before the former mayor signed the contract?
Take that on notice.
Yes, that obviously occurred before the commissioners were appointed, so we'll need to take that question on notice and we'll provide you with a written response.
Thank you. If the contract extension is ultimately found to be ultra vires, what is the Commissioner's plan to mitigate legal exposure for the town, ensure continuity of CEO services, and recommence the lawful recruitment of contract renewal process?
As I outlined in my opening statement, reinitiating or continuing with the CEO recruitment process is an absolute priority for the commissioners. We'll have to take your question on the other aspects on notice, because we are new to this, and that was a decision taken under the previous council, so we'll just need to gather more information for you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions?
Thank you. Janet Kuchera-Gillingham, resident 40 years in Port Hedland, 3 Simmons Street, Cook Point, Port Hedland. I have a short preamble to my question, if I may, Commissioner.
You have 2 minutes within which to answer your question, so if you can fit it in 2 minutes, then perfect.
Thank you very much. Welcome to our town, and thank you so far for your answers that you've given us this evening. To our commissioners, now governing our community. As commissioners, you are not residents of Port Hedland and have been advertised through social newspaper as fly-in, fly-out appointees governing our community, which you have not lived in. As residents here tonight, and most ratepayers here tonight, we feel it important for our newly appointed commissioners to relocate here to spend more time to see how our town lives, works and exists, especially as our historical town of Port Hedland is the economic heartbeat of Australia, the engine room of Australia. My question, please can you explain to the people of Port Hedland how, as commissioners, how can you claim to represent our community while living elsewhere in WA or further afield? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, you are correct. We are not resident in the town of Port Hedland. It's not practical for us to relocate. However, we do intend to be in Port Hedland as often as we possibly can. So we've been up every week since we've been appointed, and we would like to be up every week during the term of our appointment. We can also obviously make ourselves available virtually, so a lot of work these days is done, particularly in remote communities, by video conferencing and the like, so we can certainly make ourselves available like that. In terms of familiarity with the Pilbara, in my previous pre-parliamentary career, I worked for Horizon Power and was manager Pilbara business, or manager for commercial operations in the Pilbara business, and I had a lot to do with Port Hedland, and throughout my career in the energy and resources sector have had a lot to do with Port Hedland. So I'm not entirely a stranger to the place, but I do acknowledge that it's no substitute for actually living here. We do intend to be as present and as available as we possibly can be. In terms of how we will represent the community, our intention is to listen as much as possible. And we've outlined in the opening statement that we want to review processes, we want to facilitate the major strategic review, and that will involve extensive public consultation. So for Commissioner Aldridge and I as formally elected state parliamentarians, and Also, Commissioner Jurovic is a mayor of some 20 years' experience. Both my fellow commissioners are regional members, and in fact, so many of the issues that we've been discussing over the last 3 weeks have touched on many regional issues which both commissioners have expressed a view mirror a lot of the challenges that they've dealt with in their own communities. And as I say, we've had incredible engagement from the community so far. People have already been reaching out to us to express their views, and we certainly hope that people continue to do that and continue to come forward and share their views so that as best we're able, we can comply with our obligations under the Local Government Act to act as commissioners.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the question. Are there any further questions?
Good evening. My name is Gillian Fisher. I reside in South Hedland. I have 3 questions as preferred. My first question is for Commissioner Shaw. I note that you're the WA Program Director of the Superpower Institute, an organisation started by Simon Holmes à Court. I would just like for you to please clarify if you're going to continue this role in concurrence with your Commissioner's role. You are. And also, will the organisation's interest in the local resources industry be of a conflict of interest during your tenure here, and how any favouritism, what's your direction on how you will deal with that conflict of interest?
So the Superpower Institute is a not-for-profit organisation founded by Professor Ross Garnaut and Professor Rod Sims. And I do believe that Mr Holmes à Court was involved in the establishment of the Superpower Institute. In terms of the way that our work is conducted, we're like a research institute, like a think tank. What we do is devise economic policies that we then recommend to state and Commonwealth governments about establishing what we call the new green industry, so green commodities. So we don't pick particular projects, we don't act on behalf of any individual company or any individual person. What we do is take a macro look at economic policies that could help diversify the Australian economy and position us to take advantage of the superpower opportunity. Now, having said that, there are provisions in the standing orders and under the Local Government Act for commissioners to declare conflicts of interest. And I'm very familiar with the conflicts of interest requirements. And in the incredibly unlikely event that there would be any direct conflict of interest, then I would of course comply with the requirements aligned. But I will not be resigning my position with the Superpower Institute during my tenure as a commissioner, and there's no legal requirement for any commissioner to do that. And as I say, the requirements to comply with the conflicts of interest policy apply just as stringently to commissioners as they did to former councillors.
Thank you for clarifying that. I have another 2 questions. Under the former mayor, ratepayers and councillors alike were extremely frustrated by the mayor not being transparent regarding the acting CEO's contract extension. In light of that, under the Local Government Act, it is the whole council that appoints the Chief Executive Officer and sets the contract in accordance with the recruitment requirements in the administration regulations. Given the primacy of the relationship between the CEO, the mayor and the councillors, will you commit to a caretaker position, namely that no permanent CEO will be made by the commissioners and that the decision will be left to the newly elected council?
Thank you for the question. As I flagged in response to an earlier question, when it comes to the technicalities around the former mayor's actions, the former council's processes and decisions with respect to the appointment of the acting CEO, we need to take that on notice. In terms of the way we'll conduct ourselves going forward, we'll comply with the Local Government Act, and I outlined our approach to initiating or to continuing the process around appointing the new CEO in my opening statements. Our immediate focus in the last 2 or 3 weeks has been on passing the budget and the council plan. We'll then turn our mind to the next set of challenges, and exactly how we'll go about that in the next few weeks. And certainly we will have more to say about that in the future. So we, as I say, been very focused on the budget and the council while we've been reading in, but we will certainly, as I say, take on notice the issues with regard to the appointment of the previous acting CEO, and we'll be actioning the process for the appointment of the new CEO as a pretty urgent order of business as we move forward.
Okay, just to extend on that, and this will be my third question.
Yep.
As there's been a lot of money and time spent on the recruitment process since November 2024, so it's almost like 10 months in doing this, is what sort of will that recruitment process be added onto? Will those candidates then be contacted and that same recruitment company used? Or are we just going to, pay them off and start anew? Can you just give us some direction on that, please?
Thank you for the question. As I've said, we've been very focused on the budget and the council plan. There has been a lot of material to get through. We do know that we need to obviously get onto the recruitment of the new CEO issue very quickly. In terms of our approach to that, we haven't as a commission had an opportunity to consider that or discuss it generally what the process was previously. We haven't had a detailed briefing on that yet. That is something that we'll be turning our minds to as a matter of urgency in the coming weeks. So perhaps not a question for tonight, but either we can take it on notice, and when we've had an opportunity to consider the process, outline that, or you're very welcome to come back to a subsequent council meeting and ask us the same question, and we will have by then worked out exactly how we're going to deal with it. But as I'm sure you can appreciate, we're late now with the budget, and we're late now with the council plan, and the council, the administration, needs to be able to get on with the process of governing the town of Port Hedland. So we want to get first order of business is to make sure that our team here have the money, the resources and the broad strategic direction to get on with their work. And then once we've settled that down, we'll be turning our mind to the other pressing matters of council.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. Are we over time?
We'll get 40 minutes to go.
40 minutes to go. Okay. Do we have any further questions? Okay, well, in that case... Oh, sorry. Yep, please come forward. Sorry. You got to be... It's the quick and the dead.
Deeply apologies.
No.
Renee Coles, South Hedland. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge you for coming up and actually steering the ship ahead. And also too for acknowledging all the staff for their wonderful work that they continuously do, and acknowledging the staff who have gone ahead and won awards. It's a really fresh approach to true leadership, going ahead and doing that first up. My first question is basically is that, as you mentioned about steering ahead, will there be any consultation in your term while you're here in regards to opening the yacht club or enabling to give back to the community to take on the bowls club in your time, or have that consultation to be able to maintain that so that actually goes to fruition?
Yeah, look, thank you for the question. It's in the budget papers, and as I say, it's an item in both the council plan and the budget papers, so we are aware of the issue. In terms of the exact mechanics around those two particular projects, I'll hand over to the CEO, but we're very aware of how important they are for the town of Port Hedland.
So the yacht club consultation around I'll start with the bowls club, because that is a matter that will be coming back to the council to close off the process that we've previously been through over the last several months, and together with guidance on what the next steps will be with that. And I would expect that that will be a public process, and that the community will have the opportunity to make comment on. As far as the Yacht Club is concerned, the Yacht Club's a project that has been in the council's plan for some time in terms of upgrading it and in terms of seeking an operator. Those decisions were actually made quite some time ago, I think before my time, in terms of going down that path. And again, the council has let a contract which is underway for the upgrading of the Yacht Club building and will shortly go out to tender for an expression of interest for an operator. So any further consultation, well, basically, I'm not in a position to answer tonight any consultation that took place at the beginning of that process. That process was well in train, as I say, some 12 months or more ago. I can check through you, Chair, and take on notice the aspect of what consultation did take place in the early stages.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you have further questions?
Yep, my next quick one. While you were also here during your term, are you able to consult with the CEO towards the ministers in regards to the boarded up housing that are currently situated in South Hedland? Obviously, we're coming into extreme fire season and there has been a couple house fires so far. Yes, they have been occupied, but there's many floating around at the moment, and we would like to try and see if you can consult with some ministers to be able to see what needs to be done to be able to release these houses, to bring them up to standard, to assist with the homelessness that currently resides within our community.
Thank you for the question. I know it's such an incredibly important issue here in Port Hedland. One of the things that, as a commission, we are really keen to do is refresh a lot of those relationships with the state and the Commonwealth Government. And so certainly we will be engaging with ministers across a whole range of portfolios, and a priority portfolio will be housing, because obviously there is such a need here in Port Hedland. The boarded up houses and unsafe nature of some of the properties is an issue that certainly I've seen driving around the town. We haven't had a detailed conversation with the administration as yet on that particular aspect, but even today we spent a couple of hours talking about housing. So I'm very happy to take that up. Thank you for raising it with us. And as I say, a key part of what we would like to achieve in the next 6 months is opening doors so that a newly elected Town of Port Hedland Council will have very constructive, open and collaborative relationships with the ministers, no matter what level of government or what colour the government of the day happens to be. So thank you for the question.
Okay, and my last and final one very quickly. Obviously in the budget, you see it time and time again, it seems to be on a huge increase, and I don't seem to find anything on the Town of Port Hedland's website. Engagements undertaken by staff, Town of Port Hedland employees, they obviously go away to a lot of different conferences. They're meant to provide some kind of reporting to bring back like some significant value in which they've actually collected from these conferences that they attend. Unfortunately, I cannot see anything on the website in regards to any of these. It seems as it is getting a high increase in people going away, but lack of transparency to what actually has taken place and the value it's adding to our community. During your time, are you able to look into that and try and see whether or not there is some transparency that can actually go towards community in regards to these trips?
So if I understand your question, it's with respect to staff travel to attend conferences and training and reporting on outcomes of travel as a transparency mechanism. Does that...
Plus what value are they bringing back to Hedland?
Okay.
Because, you know, going to a conference
yep.
and not bringing anything back that enables Hedland to move forward, it's kind of like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. That also went across the board for elected members as well, including the ex-mayor, when he travelled, what value was actually brought back. So it's something or other that has been amiss for quite some time, and would like to have some transparency, not just in regards to staff travel, but it was elected as well at the time. And
Okay, so thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
I was just trying to
not directed
understand
just
your
at staff,
question.
but like whoever was doing the travel during that period of time.
Understood. I might ask the CEO to address that question because obviously that's looking back and that's not what. If you just let me speak because we've got standing orders. We just need to comply with them. I understand the question. I'll ask the CEO to speak to it on how travel is reported against, and I'll turn over to the CEO. Thank you.
I will add to that, Chair, or add to my answer with take part of it on notice. I'm going to specifically refer to there is adopted policy of the council as it relates to elected members' travel and attendance at conferences, and I believe that does include a provision for report back following attendance of those conferences. I'll double check those references and provide them in the written answer. As far as staff travel for conferences and training is concerned, we have rigorous processes in the organisation related to learning and development. So a proposal for a staff member to travel in relation to training and development will go through an internal approval process. And the benefits of that travel or attendance at those training courses or whatever will be reported back through the appropriate staff channels within teams. As far as senior staff attending conferences are concerned, those are approved by the CEO. And as far as my travel or the CEO's travel to on business or to attend conferences, etc., they are approved by the council or the mayor. And from going forward from this stage, it will be the commissioners if I intend any travel during the time that I'm here. So I think hopefully that answers your question, but the processes are strong, the approval processes are there and the accountability is there.
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? Thank you, sir.
Good evening, how are you? My name's Jeff Day, I live in South Hedland. Two simple questions. Are you aware of whether the Minister attended Port Hedland prior to making a decision to appoint commissioners? Yes or no?
Oh, sorry, I'm not personally aware. The CEO?
I didn't catch the question. I'm sorry, but the sound system does appear to be quite good.
Then I'll ask the question again.
So just bear with us. I'll repeat the question to the CEO.
The Minister for Local Government has not been to Port Hedland, in my knowledge, since I've been here. That's November.
Thank you. Second question is would the commissioners send an open and public invitation to the Minister to attend Port Hedland, outside of your responsibilities, to come to Port Hedland and address the issues of the local residents here? As you can see, it's a little bit contentious.
Thank you for the question. As I've said, a key part of what we're here to do is refresh a lot of the relationships between the ministers at state and federal level and with the town of Port Hedland. So absolutely, we'd be delighted to extend an invitation on behalf of the council to the Minister for Local Government to come to Port Hedland.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. Are there any further questions? There being no further questions, I declare public question time closed at 6:30 p.m. and by the hour and 15 minutes that we've allowed for public question time and public statement time, We have 28 minutes left, so I declare public statement time opened at 6:31 p.m. CEO, have we received any public statements?
No, Chair, none have been received.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to make a statement? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Jan Kuchera-Gillingham from 3 Simmons Street in Port Hedland. I'd just like to say a big thank you to staff for the help and assistance of helping to put our Pilbara Music Festival on, which we had recently from the 9th to the 14th of September. A big thank you to Director Alison Banks and her staff for the help and assistance that were given, and thank you very, very much, and just to help everything run smoothly. It is a not-for-profit organisation. We run on very little money, but it has been a music festival going since 1976. I didn't arrive here till 1985, but it's the 50th anniversary next year, and we know that we'll be sort of calling on the town of Port Hedland to look into having a bigger and better music festival. It's a music festival where you have an adjudicator and people perform and they are awarded, and especially our young students under the age of 18, and we have a lot of sponsorship come through from local organisations. But thank you very much for the help and assistance. We had an amazing few days in the Gratwick Hall, the Gratwick Memorial Hall, and it's just really lovely to say that it has a home. And I think I've already been talking to some of the staff that some conversations to happen in the very near future on moving forward to try and ask the town of Port Hedland to take more control, helping us with the music festival, just like it as in our city counterparts. So thank you very much. It was a very successful music festival, and we look forward to next year having its 50th anniversary. So thank you.
Sounds great. I'm sorry almost to not be a commissioner and to potentially have to miss it. So sounds like a great event, and so congratulations to the staff. And can I acknowledge the volunteers that do such an incredible role making our community such vibrant places to live by putting so much work into community events just like the one that you've just discussed. So congratulations and thanks to you too.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other public statements?
Hello, Camilo Blanco, former assassinated local government member in 2019 and 2025. Look, I'm from Harwell Way, Wedgfield. Obviously, I don't agree that you commissioners should be here. You know, the people of the town should pick their elected representatives to represent them. But your responses to questions tonight are outstanding compared to what we've had to be dealing with over the last 2 years. So I commend you on that, and obviously the people in the gallery will enjoy your responses because the debacle that was happening previously was clearly outrageous. The previous, I'm just going to make a few comments. I know you guys are, you know, high level, so I'm just going to make some comments. You'll understand them. Hopefully people watching and the gallery will as well. Just on some of the comments that have been made tonight. The previous council did not make any decisions on the renewal of the CEO's contract. Didn't happen, okay? That was done without our knowledge by the mayor, clearly outside the Local Government Act and the requirements of the Act and the regs. I've had a look through the budget. There isn't many changes in there from what we have discussed with the, what we discussed as council members when I was a council member, before I got assassinated. There isn't many changes in there, but we did go back to the community a couple of times, because the first budget was going to be advertised as an 8% increase, but in actual fact it was probably a 12% increase for residential and 15+% increase for business when you have a look at what is actually going on behind the scenes, you know. And so we disagreed with that. We went back to the community and, you know, it's a 0% increase for residential and the business component. So that is something that the remaining 4 council members agreed with. The mayor did not agree with that. He actually wanted an increase for residents, but obviously we weren't able to pass that because he resigned. Now, one of the questions one of the statements that I have for you tonight is in relation to the commitment that's in the budget tonight on the service workers' housing. We reduced that significantly. Okay, we didn't want to see ratepayers' money go into service workers' housing. Tens of millions of dollars. The state, yes, is giving us a handout, a minute handout. But I'll take you back to, and you should know about this because I think some of you were in Parliament when this was happening, or when this did happen, maybe. The Langdalen report that was commissioned by the Labor Party in 2017-18, that absolutely slammed the Barnett government and Brendan Grills in, you know, the development of service workers' housing here in South Hedland. Said it was a waste of money. There was a lot of things said about that absolutely destroyed their reputation.
Mr Blanco, I'd just remind you, you have 20 seconds left of your 5 minutes remaining.
Then, and now, the state government wants us to invest in service workers' housing. Totally outrageous. It is a state government responsibility and we should not be spending ratepayers' money on what the state should be putting out there, especially when it goes into, you know, 50 to 100.
And your time has expired. Thank you, Mr Blanco, for your comments. We'll come to the budget later on at a stage of the proceedings. Thank you very much. Are there any further statements?
Merrin Browning, South Hedland. Okay. Let's be short and sweet, hopefully. Looking forward is essential, and I totally appreciate that that's where you guys are sitting right now, and I hope that looking forward will bring us some really good, positive and honest outcomes. So I'll just read this out. Looking forward is essential, but lasting progress demands the honesty to look back. Under Mayor Carter, ratepayers and residents endured the pain of poor leadership, which should not be dismissed when we come and ask these questions. I appreciate that you are actually wanting to move forward, but you must look back to be able to move forward from the pain that we've actually been through. Rising costs with little transparency, stored projects that should have strengthened our town, and decisions that placed politics ahead of people. Families paid more but received less. Throughout this, the remaining councillors fought hard to protect ratepayers' interests, often against resistance from the Mayor's office. Their determination ensured that the community's needs were not completely ignored. We must acknowledge these failures, because only then can we restore accountability, demand better value for every ratepayer dollar, and ensure residents are finally put first. The community deserves leadership that delivers, not leadership that excuses.
Thank you for your statement. Are there any further public statements?
Good afternoon, Ash Christensen, South Headland.
Thank
Just
you.
want to double check, you're right for me to use a laptop. I would use a phone, but my eyes aren't as good, so I hope my missus doesn't hear me say that. She might tell me to get her glasses, but are you okay for me to read off a laptop?
No, that's fine. I suffer the same affliction.
No, thank you. Tonight you will vote to endorse the Town of Port Hedland's new council plan, a document intended to guide the next 4 years of service delivery, investment and governance. I'm talking tonight not to dismiss the value of planning, but to challenge whether the document before us genuinely inspires confidence in its ability to deliver. On page 21 of the plan, this commits the town to developing and updating 26 strategies and plans, with 18 of those to be completed in the year 25-26. That is 69% of the total. At the same time, the plan proposes to increase service levels for 19 of the 33 documented services while maintaining the remaining 14. That means almost 60% of the services are expected to be delivered are at a higher level than what they were previously this year. The plan also sets out an extraordinary ambitious capital works program. Some projects suggested: West End, South Headland precinct planning, a new aquatics facility, JD Stage 3, Hamilton Road upgrades, childcare expansion and the Civic Centre Community Hub review, just to name a few. All of this equates to $45.5 million for 25-26. Now plus an additional $29.2 million in carryovers from the previous year. That is a combined workload of $74.7 million. This represents a very significant escalation compared to last year's actual program, and in my opinion will stretch the town's resources to an unprecedented level. On top of this, the administration is also undertaking major internal system reforms. This includes the ERP project, which we all know constitutes the new geo-information system, the work health and safety systems, new grants management processes, mobile applications, corporate performance planning, and also the development of the enterprise and strategic asset management systems. Some of these standalone massive projects would constitute transformational workloads in any other local government authority. So multiply that by several times over, and we have the expected workload of the Town of Port Hedland for 25-26. When combined with the capital works program and services expansions, it begs a fundamental question: are we setting ourselves up for success or for disappointment? At a time when we are experiencing a higher than normal vacancy rate and staff turnover, is it credible to suggest that this organisation can simultaneously complete nearly 70% of its strategic planning work in a single year, increase almost 60% of its services, and deliver a capital work program approaching $75 million? This is the very pattern of overreach that has undermined confidence in the town's ability to deliver in the past. My concern deepens when I read the section, Success Measures. The plan states that this to be set in a major strategic review. How can the administration be held to account in the 25-26 financial year if success measures are not yet defined and will not be defined until the end of your term or just after? How can ratepayers or commissioners like yourselves know whether we have achieved value for the substantial investment this plan requires? Without measurable targets, both the community and the council are left without a yardstick. The plan promises to increase or maintain delivery across all 33 services. Yet there are no published service level agreements that describe the expected outcomes or costs for each service. Without detailed service level agreements, how will the administration demonstrate that it has delivered the promised increase or the maintained standards that we expect? How can the community meaningfully monitor performance if there is no baseline? The plan tells us that Council will monitor progress against the Council plan quarterly and that these reports will be put publicly, with annual updates included in the annual report. But reporting is only as strong as the metrics you measure it against. If success measures remain undefined, quarterly or annual reports will be little more than a narrative update. Transparency without measurable benchmarks is not genuine accountability. While a give you planning for the future is essential, and there is no doubt about that, but a plan that promises almost 70% in its strategic workload
You
in 1
have
year,
30 seconds.
increases to 50% of its services, undertakes multiple transformative internal projects, and delivers a capital project more than double last year's actuals, all while defending the very success measures by which it will be judged, does not inspire confidence. It reads as aspirational rather than deliverable. This council plan should be a realistic roadmap for the next 4 years, not a wish list. Optimism is one thing, wishful thinking is another one. I urge the administration to temper ambition with capacity, define clear success measures,
Thank
and
you. Your
provide
time has
service level
expired.
agreements.
So if you,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. We'll put clear, a very comprehensive statement that was likely prepared before you'd had an opportunity to reflect on the comments that I made in my opening statement today about the approach that we intend to take to both the budget and to the council plan. We will talk to that and the basis for our decisions. A lot of the assumptions that you have made about what we have set down for the 25-26 financial year probably need a little more discussion, a little more explanation, and we'll go through that when we come to the relevant matters on the agenda. Now we have 13 minutes left for public statements. Are there any further public statements? Thank you.
Good evening. Louise Newbury, Redbank. I would like to applaud the state government for finally giving us a commissioner. Unfortunately, I can't speak on yous both, but Ron Jurovich. The day I found out, I could not stop smiling all day. He was an unbelievable mentor in 2018 when this council went through the same disaster. Ron is the local government guru, and for those who chose to listen to him, they learnt. I congratulate you, Mr. Jurovich, and thank you for coming back to our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further statements? Okay, thank you very much. Then I declare public statement time closed at 6:45 p.m. Excuse me. Item 6.3, petitions, deputations, presentations and submissions. CEO, have we received any petitions, deputations, presentations or submissions?
We have not, Chair.
Thank you. Item 7, are there any questions from my fellow commissioners? There being no more questions, I'll move on to item 9, declarations. I invite all commissioners to declare by show of hands that they have given due consideration to all matters contained within the agenda. Thank you, commissioners. Item 10, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. The Local Government Act 1995 requires minutes of a meeting to be confirmed at the next ordinary council meeting under section 5.22 subsection 2. Good governance practice is for the members present at the previous meeting to move, second and confirm the minutes of the meeting. However, this is not possible in the current circumstances. The commissioners acting in place of the council are required to confirm the minutes under the Local Government Act. We have an officer's recommendation before us that requires a simple majority vote. That Council 1, approve an administrative amendment to the title of item 12.4.2, RFT 2425-28 Port Hedland Yacht Club Kitchen, 2, RFT 2425-40 Port Hedland Yacht Club Base Build and Kitchen Works, and 2, confirm that amended minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 30th of July are a true and correct record. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Jurovich. And a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Is anyone against the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Before we move to reports of committees and officers, I remind members of the public not to take action on council decisions on items in this evening's agenda in which they may have an interest until formal notification in writing by the town has been received. Decisions made at this meeting can be revoked in line with the Local Government Act 1995. I have a short statement to make. As commissioners, rather than councillors, our role does not typically involve debate. Instead, we will speak to each agenda item as we move through the balance of the agenda to provide clarity on our decisions. I understand this is different from usual practice under the standing orders, with unopposed motions being declared carried. However, this is at the discretion of the Chair and will not be implemented for the foreseeable future. So item 11, reports of committees, Audit, Risk and Compliance Committee. While we currently do not have an Audit and Risk Committee in place, we acknowledge the importance of establishing one. We're committed to appointing an ARC as soon as practically possible, which will include the nomination of an independent director to serve on the committee. Item 1.1.1, minutes of the Audit Risk Compliance Committee meeting held on the 12th of August 2025. We have an officer's recommendation before us that requires an absolute majority vote, that Council 1 receives the unconfirmed minutes of the Audit Risk and Compliance Committee meeting held on 12 August 2025. 2, pursuant to Section 6.8 of the Local Government Act for the Enterprise Resource Planning Implementation Project, carry over $284,000 of 2024-25 project funding into the 25-26 annual budget and endorse project variations V10 through V14 for $341,430. And 3, endorses the recovery action by way of seeking a vesting order on 12 Chungking Crescent, South Hedland, and advises the State Solicitor's Office of this intention. Can I have a mover?
Chair, I move the committee recommendation contained in item 11.1.1.
Thank you. And a seconder?
Seconded motion.
Does any commissioner wish to speak to the motion?
Chair, I think the report clearly sets out the background, and I reserve my right.
Thank you. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Item 12, reports of officers. 12.1, corporate services. 12.1.1, statement of financial activity, July 2025. We have an officer's recommendation before us that requires a simple majority, that Council 1, receive the accounts paid under delegated authority, 2, receive the purchasing card statements, and 3, receive the investment summary report for the period ended 31st July 2025. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
Thank you. And a seconder?
Seconded.
Does any commissioner wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. Item 12.1.2, statement of financial activity, August 2025. The officer's recommendation requires a simple majority vote, that Council 1, receive the accounts paid under delegated authority, 2, receive the purchasing card statements, and 3, receive the investment summary report for the period ended 31st August 2025. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does any commissioner wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.1.3, delegation register review. We have an officer's recommendation before us that requires an absolute majority vote, that Council adopt the 2025-26 Town of Port Hedland delegation register as per attachment 1. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does any commissioner wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Item 12.1.4, Corporate Business Plan Quarterly Report 2024-25 Quarter 4. We have an officer's recommendation before us that requires a simple majority vote. The Council adopt the 25-26 Town of Port Hedland delegation register as per attachment 1. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the motion? As the majority is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.1.5, Policy Review Program. We have an officer's recommendation before us that requires a simple majority vote, that Council adopt 1, 2/004 Ratings Policy, 2, 2/010 Council Investments Policy, 3, 2/019 Financial Reserves Policy, and 4, 2/005 Financial Hardship Policy. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does any commissioner wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I do, Chair.
Commissioner Aldridge.
Just some brief comments on this item. This item is considering the review and the adoption of 4 of the town's policies. I understand that there's in excess of 50 policies held by the town of Port Hedland. These ones, however, will align with the adoption of the budget and financial matters which are relevant to tonight's meeting. The changes being adopted are relatively minor and are clearly set out in the officer's report, and I commend the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Commissioner Jurovich?
No.
I'd just also like to add my comments that I noted the statements that were made during public statement time, that there is an incredible backlog, if you like, of policies and strategies that are overdue for renewal. These four, as Commissioner Aldridge said, are very relevant to the budget. The other policies and strategies that require amendment are significant, and we will be working with the administration as we move forward to review and update those policies in an orderly manner. And as I said in my opening statement, acknowledging the fact that the last thing we want to have happen is the ordinary business of the town of Port Hedland grind to a halt because we've got such a backlog of policies to progress. So, as I say, we will also discuss this matter as we move through the budget, but it is important to acknowledge that certainly it is not the intention that every single policy that is identified as outstanding will be completed by the end of the 25-26 financial year. So just to put those comments on record to contextualise the decisions that the Commission's making. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.1.6, adoption of the 2025-26 annual budget. We have 9 officers' recommendations before us. I note recommendation 1 was listed in the agenda with the officer's recommendation number 1 for airport. I propose the officer's recommendation be moved with the word GRV preceding the airport. CEO, did you wish to comment on that change?
Yes, Chair. This is just a very minor adjustment to clarify the basis of the airport rate to avoid any possible confusion. So it's a very simple. We picked it up fairly recently, and this is an adjustment that I would recommend.
Thank you. Officer's recommendation 1, general and minimum rates requires an absolute majority. That council, pursuant to the legislation displayed on screen, and as we've just discussed, amended, impose the differential general rates and minimum payments on gross rental and unimproved values for the 2025-26 financial year, endorse the 25-26 differential rating statement of objects and reasons, and insert the word GRV at 1.4 prior to the word airport. Can I have a mover?
I move the motion in the amended form.
And a seconder?
I second, Chair.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the motion?
Is this the appropriate time to perhaps speak generally in relation to the budget, and then we don't have to do it at subsequent motions?
We can do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Commissioner
Yes,
Aldridge.
Thank you, Chair. I wish to indicate my support for the adoption of the 2025-26 budget for the town of Port Hedland. However, noting the constrained timeframe we've had to fully consider this matter. In doing so, I recognise it is less than ideal for the town of Port Hedland that the town of Port Hedland does not have an adopted budget as we approach the end of Q1 of the financial year. However, is understandable in the circumstances. I wish to recognise the patience and ultimately the approval of the Department of Local Government Industry Regulation and Safety in approving 2 extensions to the town to allow for the late adoption of the budget. I would also like to recognise the work of the former council across 12 budget workshops that has resulted in the budget before us today. I appreciate the detailed advice that we have enjoyed from the town's administration since our appointment as commissioners. I know this has placed extra pressure on the team to bring us up to speed in a short time frame, and I want to recognise their commitment to go above and beyond to ensure that Council is able to consider the budget formally at tonight's meeting. The town of Port Hedland is in a strong financial position, a position that would be the envy of many local governments in Western Australia. The budget includes a $45.5 million investment in capital works and transfer of $58.7 million into reserve. The fact that more than 80% of the town's depreciation is cash-backed in this financial year demonstrates the strong financial position of the town. The budget continues rating relief measures in the form of the pensioner rate cap gap with a limit of $500 in concessions and more than $200,000 in rate relief to community groups and sporting clubs. Whilst my term as a Commissioner commenced just 3 weeks ago, actually to the day, I would welcome feedback from the community on the budget priorities and indeed any other matter ahead of the mid-year review of the budget pursuant to Regulation 33 Capital A of the Local Government Financial Management Regulations of 1996. I commend the motion to Council.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Commissioner Jurovich.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I won't go over the whole thing, but I agree totally with the Commissioner's point of view on all the aspects of the budget we're about to adopt. But I would really like to emphasise someone mentioned earlier on that Port Hedland's the engine room of the country, and they're right. I would venture to suggest that Port Hedland Council could be the leading council in Australia. It's such an exciting, I know I've said this before, it's such an exciting place. Your budgets like this are the envy of local government throughout Australia. The financial position of the town of Port Hedland is far head and shoulders above any council in Australia, and I've been around the traps a while. Commissioners, I absolutely commend this budget to be adopted tonight. It will give Port Hedland the direction that the previous elected members were looking for, and I believe the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jurovich. To those comments, I'd just briefly add that our intention in passing the budget and the council plan, as I outlined in my opening remarks, is to continue essential work but not to make any major decisions. We do acknowledge that there have been in the past some comments made around project governance and on the decision making around major capital spends, and so that is one issue that we will be prioritising in our 6 months as commissioners. And as I say, we would like to gather as much information in the major strategic review and following the adoption of the budget and the council plan, gather as much information as we possibly can to provide to the next elected council for them to make the major expenditure decisions that will chart the course for the town of Port Hedland moving forward. So with that said, as the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Officers' recommendation number 2, concessions and exemptions, requires an absolute majority vote. That Council grant the following concessions and exemptions summarised below. Rate concessions total $208,094 and rate cap gap total $7,731. As applied to the 25-26 rates charges and in accordance with the legislation displayed on the screen. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
So second, Chair.
Does a Commissioner wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Officers' recommendation 3, instalment payment arrangements and interest, requires an absolute majority vote. That Council, pursuant to the legislation displayed on the screen, 1, nominates the following due dates for the payment by instalments. Option 1, full payment as shown on the screen, and option 2, 4 instalments as shown on the screen. And 2, adopts an instalment administration charge where the owner has elected to pay rates through the instalment option of $15 for each instalment after the initial payment is paid. 3, adopts an interest rate of 5.50% where the owner has elected to pay rates and service charges through the instalment option. 4, adopts an interest rate of 7.0% for rates and costs of proceedings to recover such charges that remain unpaid after becoming due and payable. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the motion? I'll just make a very brief comment. One of the concerns that I had as a newly appointed Commissioner was that the delay in preparing and passing the budget not have any hardship implications for members of the community. I was advised by the administration that indeed the schedule would be kept as originally intended, and obviously we've incorporated the hardship policy as part of an earlier item of this evening's business. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Officers' recommendation 4. Elected members' fees and allowances for the 2025-26 requires an absolute majority vote. That Council, in accordance with Policy 4.008, elected members' allowances, facilities and expenses, and pursuant to legislation displayed on the screen, 1. Adopts the following annual fees for payment of elected members in lieu of individual attendance fees. Mayor, $53,215. Councillors, $35,480. 2. Adopts the annual allowance to be paid in addition to the annual meeting allowance. Mayor, $100,514. Deputy Mayor, $25,129. And 3. Adopts the following annual allowances for elected members. Information Technology Allowance, $2,000. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
I second, Chair.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Officers' recommendation 5. Commissioner remuneration and allowances for 25-26 requires a simple majority vote. That Council, in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995, Schedule 2.4, Clause 5(1)(d), the Commissioners are entitled to remuneration, allowances and to be reimbursed for expenses set out in the determination schedule included as attachment 3. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
Second, Chair.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the motion? As the majority is not opposed, as the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Officers' recommendation 6. Material variance reporting for 2025-26 requires a simple majority vote. That Council, in accordance with legislation displayed on screen regarding level of material variance for financial reporting, adopts the following threshold. 1. A variance of 10% or $50,000, whichever is greater, of the year-to-date budget of operational and capital expenditure. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
Thank you. So seconder?
I second the motion.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Office recommendation 7. Fees and charges for the 2025-26 requires an absolute majority vote. That Council, pursuant to legislation displayed on the screen, adopts the Town of Port Hedland 25-26 fees and charges. Can I have a mover?
I so move the motion.
And a seconder?
I second the motion, Chair.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Officers' recommendation 8. Municipal Fund Budget for 2025-26 requires an absolute majority vote. That Council, pursuant to legislation displayed on screen, adopt the budget which includes the following: Statement of Comprehensive Income, Statement of Cash Flows, Statement of Financial Activity, Statement of Capital Works, Notes to and forming part of the budget. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the budget? As this motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Officers' recommendation number 9. Published Annual Budget 2025-26 requires a simple majority. That Council approves the Chief Executive Officer to oversee the final design of the published annual budget document. Can I have a mover?
I move the motion.
And a seconder?
Second, Chair.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the motion? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.1.7, 2024-25, carryover projects. We have an officer's recommendation before us that requires an absolute majority vote. That Council, pursuant to Section 6.8 of the Local Government Act 1995, amends the Town of Port Hedland 2025-26 annual budget to include 2024-25 carryover projects. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
Thank you. And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the budget? I'd just like to put on record our gratitude to the staff of the town of Port Hedland for their work in preparing this budget, their patience taking us through it in the briefings that we've held. And yes, thank you very much for all the incredible hard work under incredibly pressing circumstances that's gone into this. So thank you very much. Item 12.2, Community Services, there are no reports. 12.3, Regulatory Services, there are no reports. Infrastructure Services, there are nil reports. Item 12.5, Executive Services, Commissioner Representation. Oh, sorry, Tom. Oh, excuse me, sorry.
Sorry, through the chair, I believe that item 12.1.7, we just missed the taking of the vote. So just would like to confirm those numbers.
I do beg your pardon. Oh, so, okay, so I'll take the vote again, just out of an abundance of caution. We don't want to blow the budget up at the death knock. Item 12.1.7, I move, we have an absolute officer's recommendation before us that requires an absolute majority vote. That Council, pursuant to section 6.8 of the Local Government Act 1995, amends the Town of Port Hedland 25-26 annual budget to include the 24-25 carryover projects. And I have a mover.
I move the motion.
And a seconder.
So second, Chair.
And does the Commissioner wish to speak to the matter? As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. My apologies, it's a rookie error. As we say, items 12.2, 12.3 and 12.4, there are no reports. We move to 12.5, Executive Services. Item 12.5.1, Commissioner Representation on External Committees. We have an officer's recommendation before us that requires a simple majority vote that Council appoint commissioners as representatives of the Town of Port Hedland with the following external committees as presented on the screen. Can I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the motion? I will briefly speak to the motion. Commissioners' representation on external committees is a vital part of our function as a commission, and indeed councillors' functions as councillors. The Town of Port Hedland needs a voice in multiple different forums, and certainly making these appointments means that the Town of Port Hedland's voice can continue to be heard in the forums listed here. And as I outlined in prior comments, we will be refreshing a whole range of different relationships with the intention of handing those relationships over to the duly elected Town of Port Hedland in good shape. Can I have a mover for the motion? Oh, we've done that. We've done the moving. We've done the seconding. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. We move to item 12.5.2, Council Plan 25 to 35. CEO, do you wish to comment on the conflict of interest matter you raised?
Chair, just to repeat my declaration, I do have an interest in this item, 12.5.2. I have an interest in it's a financial interest, and I have an interest in the company that assisted the council in preparing the council plan.
Thank you. We have an officer's recommendation that requires an absolute majority vote that Council 1 adopts the Council Plan 2535, which incorporates a strategic community plan and the corporate business plan as contained in Attachment 1, and 2, give the discretion to the Chief Executive Officer to make minor editorial changes to the Council Plan which do not affect the intent of its content. Can I have a mover?
I move the motion.
And a seconder?
I second the motion.
Does the Commissioner wish to speak to the Council Plan?
Yes, I do, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge.
I think this is something, Chair, that you canvassed quite comprehensively in your opening statement to Council this evening, but I want to reiterate a couple of points. One, that this is an overdue minor desktop review. It was due in 2024, so it is one of the many strategic documents that is delayed within the town. It combines both the strategic community plan and the corporate business plan and is required by the Local Government Act and its regulations. Community consultation, it's important to note, will commence in early 2026 as part of the major strategic review of the plan, and this body of work will inform the new council and importantly reserve such a significant decisions for a newly elected council aligned also with the next budget cycle. This aligns and confirms our publicly stated view as commissioners to only take the necessary decisions during our tenure, enabling a future elected council to determine the future of the town and its people.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Commissioner Jurovich?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just like to add to those comments and congratulate the previous council in getting it to this point, and more important, or not more importantly, but as importantly, the staff led by the CEO to present this to council for adoption. It's what I consider an excellent plan, and I know that these things are flexible, and that's for the new council, as you've been it's been stated tonight, that the new council will look very closely at this as we go through and make whatever adjustments the community asks them to make based on the popularity of whatever it is. So thank you very much, staff and previous councillors.
Thank you, Commissioner Jurovich. I'd just also like to put on record my thanks to the council staff and the CEO for the preparation of the council plan. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Item 13, new business of an urgent nature. Is there any new business of an urgent nature? Item 14, motions of which previous notice has been given. There are none. Item 15, matters for which the meeting may be closed. Confidential matters, there are none. So the date for the next meeting, the next ordinary council meeting, ordinary meeting of council will be held on Wednesday, the 29th October 2025, commencing at 5:30 p.m. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 7:17 p.m. I thank commissioners, member of the public, the CEO and his staff for their assistance and attendance.